Get started. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session this morning on financial transformation in hospitality. Just wanted to say thank you to my guests this morning who are going to join me on the panel. Christine Davis, the Finance Director at Exclusive Collection, and Tom Haley, the CFO of the other house. I'll let them to introduce themselves shortly, but I think from our side, we met 2 years ago, for both of you actually, at the virtual Hospace, and you've been customers of ours since, so we'll talk about your journey in a second. I think just a bit of an introduction about Percipient. So what do we do? We're experts in implementing financial management systems. Hospitality is our key focus, and we've been a proud member and supporter of Hospa now for many years. People often, what do we do? We often get described as a financial geeks. I've been called Sage Man many years, but ultimately we're a tech company, and I think some of what we'll talk about today will really highlight that, some of the exciting things that we do now. It's no longer purely about implementing a financial management system. It's a lot more than that. Established in 2003, so we're 20 next year. I know you're looking at me thinking, how can that be? It doesn't look old enough, but it's been an exciting journey and how technology's evolved in that period of time. And again, we'll touch on some of that today. We're one of Sage's key business partners in the UK, and we work with their product Sage Intacct and Sage X3. We're very much a consultancy-led business, so I'm very much a people person. I love people, and I think really the people that we have working for us, it's very much about learning about our customers, learning their pain points, and then really then taking on a journey, understanding, as I say, more than just what we're implementing, how they want to connect the systems that we implement to other areas of their business. All our consultants and support consultants are Sage certified, and a lot of them as well are CIMA and AAT accredited, which obviously is important to us when they talk to our customers. In terms of our team here today, as well as myself, we've got Michelle as our marketing manager and Laurie's manning the stand out there. So please, throughout the day, do come and see us. Michelle's got a raffle for a bottle of champagne, so please put your business card in for that, and we'll draw that later on today. So I realised when we named this session, we've probably done what a lot of people do. Buzzwords and financial transformation is one of those buzzwords, really, that can mean so much to so many people. So I did what anyone would do. I Googled it, and this is what Google came back for me in terms of what is financial transformation. And really today, the bit we're going to focus on is that last sentence there, the replatforming of finance and accounting systems. That's what we're going to base the conversations that we're going to have today. We've been working in hospitality for a long time now, and we've noticed some big changes, really. Obviously, the global pandemic was a big driver and a big change. Prior to that, really, we were starting to see legacy finance systems were no longer really cutting it. Poor integration to other systems, a lot of people have manual processes, use of offline spreadsheets, the usual kind of thing you would expect, and really constantly having to pull information without having information pushed to you. And really, what we'd seen is, and quite rightly so, hoteliers had invested a lot in front-of-house technology, but then really what was left behind all that was an archaic finance system. And we'll talk about that with Tom and Christine today. Trigger for change. The cloud has been a big trigger for that change, really. We've seen that, as I say, I look back, my history, my background, I'm a technical person, so I was a guy that had turned up with a bag of disks to install software many, many years ago. The cloud's changed all that. It's very easy now, the ease of adoption, speed of onboarding into this technology. You're always on the latest release of the software, so you're constantly being pushed, updates, etc., which is a game changer, really. You're no longer left on old versions of software. Integration, automation, two topics that we're going to talk about today in terms of how easy it's been for the other house and for Exclusive to really integrate and to other systems. And dashboards and reporting as well. We were talking to Tom only a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about, no longer are you the guy pulling off the data to pass to people now. They're getting the data at the same time as you, which obviously could be a challenge for you, but that's what's happening now, and that's what we're seeing. So really, what's the outcome? It's a real shift to improving finance team efficiency, not just implementing that one system. So people are looking at it as a project as a whole now. How can we make the finance team more efficient? And that growing confidence in cloud technology has brought that. And then as well as that, it's that willingness to embrace new technology. So OCR scanning was something many years ago no one was really interested in. That's really there now, and that's improving, as well as performance management software for forecasting and scheduling as well. So that's really has led to that changing role of the hospitality finance function that we're going to look at and talk about today. So I'll stop talking now for a second, and I'll let the panel introduce themselves.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Haley. I'm the CFO at The Other House. Very quick background on me. I'm new to hospitality. This is my second year in hospitality. I started my career in banking and did lots of interesting things over there, and saw where it's really relevant for here. I saw systems working well. I saw legacy systems, and I saw how when you implement them and get them right, you can make a real difference. So I think that's probably enough on me. We've got a brief introduction to The Other House. We're a new brand. We opened our first property in July, and we're nearly fully open. We started work on our second site in Covent Garden this week, which is super exciting, and we're just looking at building out our third site in Belgravia. But if we just go to the video, then better than me trying to explain it.
The brief given to London-based design studio was to create a unique and clearly differentiated brand identity. It required rethinking traditional hospitality, creating a new language, and reflecting the core values of the modern traveller in an age of slow travel and technology. The Other House exists so people going places can live like a resident, whether it's a night or a year. Our guests are interested in global issues, sustainability and the planet. But they are also independent, engaged and aspirational, always looking for new experiences. To deliver this, we identified 4 guiding principles: to make it home, to give control, to create memorable experiences, and to create a positive impact. All aspects of the visual identity contribute to these values. The branding is both contemporary and fun. The visuals interactive and bold, impactful and witty. Perfect for our residents who are wise as an owl and curious as a monkey.
Thank you, Tom. I think they were right. The video explains it far better than you perhaps ever could have. We were fortunate yesterday to go and have a look around The Other House. Obviously, we've been part of their journey for 2 years. So, yeah, it's a fantastic concept, and it was a pleasure to finally get a look around. So, Christine.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Christine Davies, and I work with Exclusive Collection as the FD. I've been there many years now. I'm not going to say how many. We joined with Percipient, as Chris said, 2 years ago. So we've been on a journey as well financially, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
And I believe we have another video for you as well.
Yeah, we've got a video.
I went to see the guys over at Exclusive Collection to talk about how the England rugby team approached their work with a positive mental attitude. We spoke about the need for teamwork, a common goal, helping each other to achieve the best. Because when individuals all pull together, they can achieve truly remarkable things. And if you are going to succeed at the highest level, sometimes you need to think outside the box. I was impressed how the guys at Exclusive really seemed to embrace the ideas. Pretty sure they got it.
And I believe they've been staying with you this week as well, haven't they, at Penny Hill Park?
They are.
Okay, so now I get a chance to ask the questions. So Tom, let's start with you, if I may. We talked about financial transformation being a confusing term, perhaps, and can mean many different things to different people. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it meant for you, the reasons you obviously looked to make change?
Sure. For us, we started with a complete clean slate. We had no systems, and we had to work out that we wanted to be a tech-led organisation, put sustainability at the heart of what we wanted to do, and we wanted to eradicate all of the little processes that take so much time and don't add value. So we went out across our whole estate and tried to find the best systems And the key piece with them was that they would all connect to each other via an API. And what that means is that if one of them doesn't work, frankly, you can take it out and put another one back in. And what it all does is from our side, with Intact, it all connects in, and we can start driving real high-level business conversations with both the numbers and as it's described in Intact, statistical information. And the ability to put that at your fingertips is frightening from a finance perspective. So to give you an example, this week we're talking about one of our HR and sort of employee opinion survey pieces that doesn't work. And as we're looking at another system, we're asking, can we make sure that the employee opinion survey data can come in so that when we're looking in our accounts or when we're doing our P&L reviews, we can look at on the line item of employee wage cost, their satisfaction level. So we see those two things together in real time, and it's updated every time we do the survey. And that ability to tell that story and do all of it is fantastic. I think one thing for me was that you talked, it was interesting, you talked about how finance used to be sort of the forgotten piece. But what we found over this journey the last 2 years is that actually Sage Intact has been waiting for everything else to catch up. Yeah. And everyone told us that it does this, does that, and you can connect it. And actually, not all of them have told us the truth, and not all of them can deliver it as well. But actually, one of the strongest bits in the room is the Intact piece, which helps us drive that conversation back through. So okay. That's been for us.
Okay, and you obviously, so you started from scratch, whereas Christine, you replaced a legacy system that I alluded to.
So we've been working with Sage. 100, 200 was where we were currently at. And really I wanted to look at something that would future-proof, but go back to the financial transformation. We were 20-page Excel accounts pack every month. We'd be exporting CSV files out of one system, Excel into another, CSV, Excel, trial balance out, filling in a 20-page accounts pack, all Excel. If you wanted to drill down, if you wanted to look at it, you went back to the original system. When we saw Sage Intact, we had the ability, and one of the key things is that you've got that one page and you drill down behind it. You don't have to go and leave the system. And that was a massive step forward. We've been with Sage Intact now, and to take that stride, it wasn't a step, it was a stride with Sage Intact. It was a completely different product. It had so many capabilities, which I know we're going to talk about in the other questions, but from something that was just doing the ledgers and just doing the payments, you suddenly had something with some business intelligence, and you had some fantastic features like dashboards, which for non-financial people in our business have been great, because Absolutely. You immediately can tell something with a smiley face or an arrow, and that was never in any other Sage product.
And I think on that, you can create the dashboards, which you can create them for each department, and you can configure with them, and at a quick click of a button, you can move from month to month to budget versus forecast. It all comes up in a pretty picture. They can have a daily dashboard, they can have a weekly, they can have Absolutely. A monthly. Yeah. And it's there, and I've gone around and around on it, but it's basically like a giant game of Lego. It's Sage Intact. You can build whatever you want. And if you can think about it and then you can bring those bits in, it can all happen for you. And then the crucial thing for me is then automated. And so once you've done it right and you land it right, it works. Yeah. And it's fantastic.
And I think you both said you've got people looking at those dashboards now that perhaps you would never have had before.
Well, we're making it available for HODs to look at the daily KPIs coming up from the PMS overnight.
Okay.
That would never have happened before.
Is Danny allowed to look?
Danny looks, yeah,
okay.
For sure.
Okay, so if we then, starting with you again, Tom, if we delve a little bit more into the journey that you embarked on, can you give us some information about the steps you went through? Obviously, perhaps you've touched on, in your case, it wasn't any systems that you replaced, but...
Yeah, actually, as I said that, I remembered we did actually use Xero to start with.
Okay.
But we were pre-trading and we needed a basic accounting package. So it was then about looking at what we needed and future-proofing what we want to do. So we've got 3 sites. We expect to have 5, 10, 15 over the next few years. And I think that feeds into your comment about future-proofing it. But the ability to then pivot the data between looking at a F&B outlet and be able to line up all your F&B outlets from all your sites on one page and do, again, the exact same analysis, the exact same KPIs, look across why are these things different, and build it once right, and it flows again. So for us, it was about looking in the market about what was the best system available. We came across Intact in terms of from that point of view, and then it's about the implementation piece, which is obviously where you guys have come in with your expertise about making sure it does work for us. And actually, the sort of the value add is about, for me, it's about the end-to-end. I describe it as end-to-end finance. So our aim is to make sure that people are in control of their numbers. So automatic recognition software that allows someone to drop an invoice in, it gets read and taken through to us. And at finance, our job is to make sure it lands in the right part of the ledger. But once we've put it in the right part of the ledger once, it recognises that invoice again. So now we're just checking, does it land in the right part of the ledger? Well, what that actually gives us is that control. So if you go back to someone and say, well, why did you upload that invoice? You wanted it paid, so you must have wanted it. They can't be got dropped into the accounts payable inbox and, oh no, someone just uploaded it. No, you wanted it, so you now can talk to it. And that drives a completely different conversation and behaviour and really helps drive us forward.
Okay.
So our journey obviously was slightly different. I mean, we saw it at Hospa 2020 virtually, and from November to January, I think we signed up and we started training. I had the advantage that we were in COVID, so we were in lockdown, and therefore it was a quicker project perhaps to get out because we didn't open till the May, but we were able to start February building our chart of accounts, working with Stephen and Grace at Percipient to look at coding and everything, because it was going to give us consolidation. So the 6 hotels, although they were all on Sage 200, they joined at different times. So they had different account codes set up slightly. I couldn't consolidate without putting everything in Excel. We couldn't absolutely have the top level like you have in, which immediately gives me a group P&L. I don't even have to go out anywhere else. I just go to top level and get a group balance sheet or a group P&L. So building that through February, March, April, and then we actually went live in May. So it was a very short build, but it was a great time to do it because I could put some staff on it. We weren't open, and it made it a quicker process, but it gave us immediately, as you were referring to, you can measure 6 hotels in exactly the same way, and could never do that before.
Yeah.
It was
through one
always
view
the
as well, I guess, as
variances.
you've said.
Yeah.
And there's also that testing environment where you can really test it and try it before you go live and make sure that you've got it right before you hit the button as well, which gives you that confidence. And if you want to go and play with something, you can go back to your testing environment, have another go, and that, again, is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going back to yourself again, Tom, if I may, to start. So having been on such a journey, can you give us a brief indication of how long the process took, and then anyone looking to go on a similar journey, any recommendations you may have for them?
In terms of how long it took, it was quick in terms of we kind of did it and then we put it away for 12 months. And we're only now pulling it back out. And this was my point I was making earlier about we had to wait for everything else to catch up, and some of that's trading data and sort of live environments of the other systems. But that sort of, I think going through it, and I think the main thing about it is this is your opportunity. Whenever you sit there and you're dealing with some legacy accounting system, you say, if only I was in charge, and if we did this right, this is how I would do it, and that is what this is. Yep. And so it then actually puts quite a lot of pressure onto you, because you're like, if I don't get it right, it's probably me, because the tech's great, so it must be me. And so there's that constant feel of how you go through it, but it was super fast. We, like yourself, Christine, dedicated a lot of time to it because we knew how important it was. And then we kind of just sat on it for a while. Some of the things we did and it was useful for, but we needed the rest of the organisation to catch up for us to really start to see the benefit that we're seeing now.
How many systems did you say you had yesterday? You were going to bring your system map?
I wasn't going to bring, it's terrifying. I think we've got 36 systems that all integrate. And we heard from our CEO, Naomi, a minute ago on the video, and it was actually describing to her what we were doing and how this is all linking. And she said, we're developing our own bespoke app. It's going to be wonderful. It'll do lots of different things for us. But what she suddenly realised, she said, oh, my word, our back end is more important than our app. And I was like, yes. Yeah. And that's where that Intact piece really comes in and drives that conversation for us.
Okay. So same question, Christine. I think perhaps you touched on how long it may have taken, but in
So I
terms
sort
of
of touched on that just now, from a timing point of view to when we went live. I think my learnings are, we had a small project team, so it was just 3 of us really working on it and making sure we had that time every week to do the training, to do the building, the construction with it. We also decided which modules to go, so whilst we brought purchasing and we brought some of the others, we didn't necessarily go live straight away with that because it needed more training with our heads of department, so we took that about 6 months later. Our year end is to the end of March, so going live in May, we had to transfer data for April and May into Sage Intacct. Again, my learning from there was just take the balances over for the month. Don't try and take all the transactions. You're just filling in spreadsheets for spreadsheets' sake. And it just enabled us to go quite quickly. Once the project was sort of there, then we've got 19, 20 people in the accounts team. So we trained them up, be it purchase ledger, be it financial controllers. So everybody was ready to hit the ground going. So we loaded April, May, and we were live for June.
Okay.
And it was good.
I'll come to you then for the first question next time now. So in terms of automation, looking at where you were to where you are now, how much have you got automated now? Is there much of a difference? Has it made or made much of a difference?
So obviously there is some automation. Some of it is with the systems we've got as well. So by July, having gone live in the May, we had an API with our PMS. So that was fantastic because we were then putting daily our PMS data with our financial data. We'd never had that before. Yes, people could have gone into the PMS and got that information, but did they? No, they didn't. But to have it there daily, coming up overnight, automated, was great. We'd never used bank feeds before as well, so to have our bank feeds coming in automatically, that used to be an Excel CSV file out of the bank, import into Sage 200. So the bank feeds meant we are bank reconciling every day. It's automatically in, and more recently, they've come out with a rule that you can actually, if it always says Amex, you can tell it to go to that account. So when you've got 6 hotels with the number of transactions we've got, to actually just have a rule with no posting anymore has saved an awful amount of time. And I actually have probably, since we opened after COVID, I've probably got 6 less account staff. Now, some of that is to do with we don't take cash anymore, but some of that is the fact that we can now streamline, and we've got some of this automatic posting that was just taking time after time after time.
Okay. Okay. And the same question to yourself, anything to add or
I think
anything different?
Conscious of time, I think the one thing that I describe is we have to, because we're on our development, we have to report to our bank about what we spent money on, back to that idea of landing it in the right category. And our financial controller, we were talking to him late on a Friday, and he just said, just give me 10 minutes. And he came up and he said, these are the numbers, and it's all perfectly in generated out of Intacct. And when we finished the call, there was the MD, myself, and one of the project directors was on there. And as you said, just before we finish, just all take a moment to realise that used to take us 2 days, and he's done it in 10 minutes. And it's right. Yeah. That was the other crucial part about it. And so that absolute focus on land it in the right place the first time, it will take care of the rest for you, is what we focus on. And then it just allows the whole thing to flow.
Okay. Okay, and then perhaps one final question, and then we'll perhaps open it up to the floor if anyone's got any specific questions for you. Integration, probably one of my favourite topics as well. Someone referred to me a few weeks ago of kind of the finance system being that heartbeat of an organisation, perhaps as you alluded to as well. Can you give us an overview, any more detail in some of the systems or the key systems perhaps then that you've integrated to, and any that perhaps you might not have thought could have been possible maybe before?
I think we've tried to, as I said earlier, we try to integrate to everything. Yeah. So we get our energy, we get a dashboard on our energy, and we want to integrate that. And everything. We want it all there because we want to be able to take what is relevant into our account system and have it to a level where you can have a high-level conversation. And if it is interesting, allow you to then go back to that system and start drilling into it. And the key thing is, of course, that everything matches and recs.
Yeah.
And so that to your point about the PMS, the conversation you obviously don't want is that ADR's 220 here and 217 here, and you spend all day talking about the three rather than the actual number. And that's the bit you want to eradicate. But if you really want to go to town in those areas, then you need to go back to those systems. But as long as you can trust those linkages.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to link anything we can think of that we think drives a sensible conversation from those dashboards and helps people drive those conversations and allows us to really partner in the room with them. We're in for.
Okay. Same question.
So our integration, we've obviously got PMS coming across with revenue statistical data. We use document processing for all our purchase ledger invoices. So they're all scanned in. We're just at the process where they'll link with a purchasing system within Intact. It's just a three-way match that we've got to work through. I'm talking to our time and attendance people in December, and that's to start bringing hours up, hours worked, hours rostered, so that we can have that perhaps daily, overnight. From a payroll point of view as well, we're not linked with it, but we'd like to bring some of the payroll data in. Again, just to start, we're working a lot on KPIs. We do that in this industry all the time, don't we? It's something, but we're now trying to focus some more, because we've got non-financial people able to look at these dashboards. We can train within that. I do a lot of financial training for them to use that, because it's for the accounts team, for the GMs, for Danny, and for these people. They need to be making some decisions on the business. So if they can see some of these daily things, we're empowering them to actually say, well, why was that higher? Why was that lower? What was that comp yesterday? What was that discount? Because that's how we'll drive the business forward, by people looking at these things. And Sage Intact has given us that, which when you just present an Excel 20-page management accounts probably 2 weeks after month end, it's fine, it's history, but you can't actually get anybody to take some responsibility to empower a change in that stat or a change in that KPI.
Okay, I feel like I've asked enough questions now, perhaps. Any questions from the floor? Has anyone got any questions for Christine or Tom, or even me? There we go. Do we have a microphone or anything so we can... Do you want me to answer it first, and then perhaps you can...
Yeah, if you want to do it.
So yeah, out of the box, so with Intact, for example, out of the box, there's a lot of roles. It's role-based, basically. So you've got, different levels of different permissions. So within that, the permissions are set. So already delivered there is, a raft of them that you can adopt. And then I guess, you may then have tweaked some of them perhaps to suit your individual needs, or have you? I don't know.
We've got quite a lot of roles from who can see on purchasing, but maybe the purchasing people only can see purchasing, do their orders, but they don't get access to a full P&L necessarily. So you can do it by role, you can do it by level as well. So for us, it works from giving GMs X, accounts people here, purchasing here, HODs there. We've managed that quite well.
Yeah, no, nothing to add from me. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, so yeah, as I say, you can get roles that give access pretty much to everything, and right down to one person who may only use one screen. So it's very, very, very good like that. Yeah.
I didn't hear that piece.
Automation, was it RPO you said? RPA. Yeah, RPA.
I'm not great on my acronyms because I'm new into the industry. What's that one? I think so the way you, I'm not sure on that, to be honest. And I think this is, for me, I'd love to chat more and find out more about it, to be perfectly honest, because we're on this journey. And what we know is that there's lots of stuff out there that we could do better. And the bit that still continues to kill us is the little bits on the edges where we're going after open balances. And to your point about cash, we're trying to eradicate cash out of our business, but high balances, open balances, the time that stuff takes for the value add is terrible, but you need to do it because it's important stuff. And so there's a whole world out there that we need to then go on to, and I think that's, for us, is the next step, and we will then go and try and take those bits further on. And I think, for me, that then comes into if you take away a lot of the mundane for your staff, you're then trying to push them into those skills to go and take those sort of problems on and think about those things. But I would love to pick up with you on that, because that's something for me to learn about.
Okay. Any other questions? I think we're trying to get a mic, maybe. Is there a mic? One second, we'll get the mic and see if it's quite hard to hear up here. There we go.
Hi, two questions. Christine, to yourself, in relation to historical data, how many years did you bring in, or what data did you bring in?
Historical data?
How much historical data did you bring in?
We just brought in the April and May of the financial year we're in, and then we just kept a licence on Sage 200 for one user just to be able to drill back for audit. So we basically brought in by GL code the movement for April and May, so we basically posted trial balances, just the movement, so that we had it there. We could run a P&L, could run a balance sheet, it was there, but you just didn't have the drill down behind it.
I would just add to that something different, but something to think about, was that we made sure that we kept very close with our auditors at that point. We made sure that they were looking at things with us and going through it, so that they got what they needed at that point. Just that was just something that really helped us by taking them on that journey at that point, rather than them coming along a bit later.
And from a future perspective then, do you build any elements of budgets and forecasting within the product, or are they done outside of the product?
The reporting and forecasting piece?
Yeah, future.
Yeah, so that's all there. And then where I was saying in terms of the dashboards, that you put that information in, you load it up into the system, and that's the way that we're building it at the moment. And then it allows you to sit with your budget, your forecast, and take those things through. And that's where those dashboards come in, because you just change, you can then just look at those things on an instant basis, and just by pivoting things, or just build another dashboard that allows you to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Shall we?
Can you give some more indication
I think just wait for the mic.
Can you give some more insight in relation to the USALI reporting capabilities and how you built those management accounts up?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
It's a question on USALI reporting and how we built it up. I'll start, and then you
sure.
finish off. For us, we built it to USALI standards. It's an open source. You can build the accounts how you like to. We just took the view, why wouldn't you go that way? Right.
Attacked.
Yeah, that's the way we did it. We built it up from USALI, and it went from there. And back to that idea of it being like Lego, you can do it, but the key thing is to make sure that you set with yourselves and your stakeholders what level of detail do you want in that reporting. So how do you break down breakfast? Do you have a grab and go? All those sorts of things. Anything that you think you might want to be able to do, as long as you then land it in that right spot and connect it in from the other side, then you're all good to go, and that data will then flow. And I think the other thing is that I would also bring is that there's so much about what you guys have done in terms of the fantastic work to the building Intact, and where you've guided us on other systems that are part of that. Sage Intact have what's their library of systems. So
yeah, because we followed that. So when we set up our chart of accounts, you already had that. You had some of the USALI stuff there.
Yeah.
And then obviously we went and took our existing coding, matched it in, and then said, do we need that? Don't we need that? Do we want to break it down further? And then, of course, you've got cost centres behind it. You've got departments behind it. You've got dimensions behind it. So you've got a whole availability of sort of a 3D effect of reporting.
I won't do it justice, so I'll ask you the question. Could you just explain to everyone about dimensions? So, because that's
Probably not me, you're asking the wrong question.
Probably asking the wrong question. All right, I'll give it a crack. But dimensions is basically basically your accounting system becomes a pivot table. If you understand pivot tables, hopefully there's enough finance people in the room. And it therefore allows you just to switch your data. So you tag it with metadata as it goes through. And again, as long as you get that tagging right, and remember what I was saying, that you land it in the right place first time and you give it those tags, that allows you just to pivot your data. So that's where you're looking at F&B on a single site P&L, but actually you want to pull up all of them. Great, if you've tagged it as F&B, it will then do that for you automatically. And that's where, for us, it was a lot of that real thinking and setting up and trying to think about the end before you built at the start that then allowed this to go. And I think it also obviously helps if you tell people what you're going to give them and then you go and build it, rather than them saying, well, actually, I would have liked it like this. And you're like, well, that's now very hard to go back and do. Well, probably not impossible, but a lot of work to go back and do.
Our core hospitality solution is based on Usali, so we're taking it, and as Christine said, it's there then, and you can kind of pick and choose then how you want to configure and set it up from there.
Yeah, because the reporting within Sage Intacct, I mean, there's a standard report there to follow, but then you just change it to meet your management accounts or your weekly flash report, whatever you need. But I think that power behind it to just be there and go, right, I'll just see the spas. Yeah. Actually, I just want to see F&B. And you can just literally stay here and go down. And you can actually go from group P&L and you can go and find the invoice in, I don't know, printing and stationery without going, back and forwards into an account system. You can just keep drilling back and back and back.
It's so intuitive,
and that's what our GMs do.
Yeah.
That's what our MDs do. They don't need us as an FC to go and find that invoice and what made up that figure in Excel for printing and stationery for June. You can do it. And the invoice is there to see. The invoices are attached, the quotes are attached, so you've got all your answers very quickly.
Okay. Any more questions? Probably got a few minutes left. Keeping Shell busy, you're getting the steps up at least.
Maybe more an esoteric question. When I hear financial transformation, there is a lot of talk about this distributed ledger and blockchain and frictionless finance. How does that tie in with the Sage product?
Yeah, so I mean it's all there, and Sage are doing a lot at the moment around artificial intelligence. I think we had a user group session a couple of days ago, and the consultants were demoing sort of the latest functionality that's there. So, machine learning, I'm talking about. I mean, the system's always there. It's learning what you're putting in, how you're doing certain things. So that capability is really building out all the time. And that, again, is a benefit of the cloud, because that type of functionality is always coming as Sage, all the vendors obviously, but as Sage invest in the products, then that's, that latest technology is always there, really. And it's understanding then, as these guys are doing, is as they embark on a project, what is it that you actually want to achieve? What do you want to achieve in that first chunk, and make sure we can hit that within a certain time frame, and then looking at what the future holds, and really where the business wants to go as to what else is out there.
Probably just tying on to the first question or the topic that you raised, Christine, the purchase ledger or the purchase order and AP module, is this all part of the integrated Sage?
Yes, so that's all within Sage Intacct. So we came from having a separate purchase model that was ages old. We had a fixed asset register that was vaguely linked with Sage 200, but was really sort of separate. So actually we've got all of that now as the Sage Intacct product. We're doing non-inventory purchasing through it, because obviously food and all that goes through a cost of sales purchasing sort of thing. But all our non-inventory is going through there. And that was quite a big change for us. But again, you control it at top level. So before I had 6 companies, all with the same suppliers in. Now we've got one set of suppliers, 2,000 suppliers that any of the hotels call on in their purchase ledgers. So it's all set up at top level. So there's control. There's control on the supplier if we want to use them. There's control on the pricing. There's reporting for the group as a whole. That would never have happened before. And we have 2 purchasing managers that can control who's buying where and how. So it's all within the model. We just chose to run it out later because we had to train over 100 HODs in a new purchasing system, which was a bit of a challenge.
Okay. Okay, we're probably out of time, so I don't want to get in trouble from the next session coming in at 12. So, yeah, if you do have any more questions, obviously, we've got a stand just outside there. We're around all day. Christine and Tom are both around as well, and tonight. So, yeah, do feel free to come and ask any questions. So, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Christine. And, yeah, as I say, please do pot your business card as you leave. Otherwise, there's only mine and Tom's in there at the moment, so one of us will win the champagne. And, yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much, and thank you.